Dune 2's opening weekend was an absolute success. It wasn't quite the over-projected success that some people were throwing out there, and in fact, it lines up with the original projections. Some people were talking about maybe going and adjusting everything upwards to 180, 190, and here I was thinking that maybe, 200 million was possible, but anything loftier than that, didn't quite reach the heights of when everything else was getting that good old-fashioned MCU boost in the likes of 2019, or even some of the more standout films that we've dealt with in the gap. But it's easily and far and away the biggest opening weekend. It has a good chance of staying that way until a couple of those children's sequel movies, the Despicable Me 4, Kung Fu Panda 4, and then of course Deadpool and Wolverine, which is always going to be interesting because it is rated R after all, and with all of the damage that the rest of the MCU has done, is that going to end up being a dent in it? But we'll have to talk about that at a later date. But as of right now, all it took was 2 full months for Hollywood to finally get off the slide and, well, produce something that audiences want to watch. So Dune Part 2 rides sandworm to $178.5 million worldwide opening, and a much more conservative $81.5 million. But all we're dealing with right now are projections, but we can break those down in a second. So coming in ahead of projections following a strong Saturday, depends on whose you're looking at, because I seem to recall that looked exactly like it should have from a bunch of other projection outlets out there. But okay, yes, $178.5 million global opening, $97 million international box office, like-for-like offshore markets using today's exchange rates. The film is tracking 76% ahead of 2021's Part 1. Interesting. 79% of Ready Player One. Is that analogous? Okay, and 96% above, yes, Godzilla vs. Kong, which is what, the big competition for March. I'll be interested to see next week's totals for Dune 2, because I'm not entirely sure where, Godzilla v. Kong, when it's supposed to open up. And doing a little bit of reading ahead, you can also see that there are also a couple of other international markets that are supposed to be getting it in the next couple of weeks, which could add on to the total. I don't think, and by those numbers, unless there's exceptional legs, the likes of Top Gun Maverick and those other slow burn films, hell, even stupid goofy Avatar, I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion. And this opening weekend, just for the simple fact that this is the first spectacle, you need to go see this in the theater type movie to come out in 2024, I don't really know if it's going to resonate with the normies. Like, from the review class that's out there, they're all raving about it, and it's like, yeah, it's a spectacular theater experience. That's the common through line. Where a lot of people start to differentiate is, well, it's really good. It's a really well-made film, but the characters kind of lack character. It's a very clinical, very surgical presentation of setup and payoff, cause and effect. It's sterile. Nothing wrong with that, and these are people that are, praising the film, giving it 7s, 8s, and 9s. And then, of course, there's other people that think that it's absolutely fantastic, the greatest thing that you're ever going to see, but then again, they also think that the greatest thing that they've ever seen is only the greatest thing that they've ever seen until the next greatest thing that they've ever seen. So take it with a, pinch of salt, or pinch of sand in this case. Well, full weekend estimates fluctuate yesterday. Yes, the domestic bow ultimately came in at $81.5 million, and overseas saw a terrific play on the weekend as audiences responded like a sandworm to a thumper. Oh, get it? Because that's what attracts the sandworm. That and not, well, you don't want to attract it so you don't walk in a rhythmic pattern across the dunes. Get it? As we noted yesterday, a lot depended on how Saturday shook out, and, well, we can take a look at Box Office Mojo for breaking everything down, but a $32.35 million Friday. That also includes the, Wednesday, all of the lead-up tickets, all the fan screening events, and then, of course, Thursday preview. So, yeah, bundles that all in. But Saturday at 28.8, that's actually damn good. And given the fact that there's only 4,000 theaters that are playing it, and there's just not much else on the on the docket, like if they continue to hold throughout the week, I'm wondering if Warner Brothers or maybe even the studios don't try to negotiate more screens for this film to be in, but we'll just have to see what the legs look like. In IMAX, the film, which was shot, yes, entirely 70 millimeter IMAX digital cameras, grossed $32.2 million globally on 809 screens. And we know the other films that are currently in IMAX and the fact that they can get the hell out of here is the biggest IMAX global weekend ever for like markets. Warner Brothers film, second overall behind Batman v Superman, which had China, Russia, and Japan on its opening suite. But yes, next weekend, China joins the fray for Dune Part 2, and Japan a week later, March 15th. The international IMAX portion, 13.7 million, working the best March debut ever. Like markets, yes, all of that stuff all breaks down. But the rest of the weekend, well, Paramount's Bob Marley, biopic grooved to another 8.8 million, so a bit of a drop off, 88 to about 8.8. But yeah, that's the competition that's out there. And well, who else was out there? Anyone But You, interesting. Demon Slayer, Migration, Wonka, a bunch of other holdovers and the holdovers. And then of course, our girl, the madam herself. And brother, I've been paying attention just in the background, but holy shit, man. It's kind of crazy to look at this stuff, and well, you break everything down, right? Just like we have with the Dune numbers. And of course, all we have is projections for its third weekend in release, and the Friday only doing 800,000 and the Sunday only doing $940,000. That ain't great. That ain't great. Not even to mention what the 1.4 million on a Saturday. Yo, it's dead. And this thing still is sitting in 3,000 theaters, and it's taking up the empty IMAX dates that Dune 2 isn't. Like, okay, it's on the weekend. This should never be the case. Averaging in the low hundreds per theater. And on the week leading up to $99 on Wednesday and $85 on Thursday. Its 15th and 16th days of release. Like, it's dead. Get it out of those theaters. Put it in a couple of, I don't know, discount screens. Okay, just give it to Dune if Dune's gonna have those legs, because nobody cares about Madam Web. It's done. It's dusted. And as much as we poked fun at the leading lady, Dakota Johnson, obviously not caring about this film, unless, of course, you're one of the industry rags where it's just a conspiracy theory. Dakota Johnson doesn't actually hate her film. Well, you can go and take a look at what Sydney Sweeney's doing, and well, she was hosting SNL over the weekend. And this also lets me know that potentially it looks like the world is really healing when it comes to this stuff, because you have Sydney Sweeney, her floopy eyes aside. She's an attractive woman. I'm not necessarily putting her on the pantheons of all-time greats, but, you know, in an ocean, I use that term specifically, in an ocean of modern women, the one dolphin amidst the blue whales does stick out. And the fact that she is not shy about using her very obvious assets and not really taking offense to anybody else doing that, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that, okay? Like, she's not talented. At least we haven't seen it so far. But hey, she's not doing the typical out of touch Gen Z hot girl thing where she just thinks that she's above all of this stuff. She's using the weapons that have been afforded to her. I just really hope, unlike the rest of her contemporaries, chicks from the past, Lindsay Lohans, the countless Bond girls that were out there that were put on because of their good looks and two other very obvious reasons, and then never figured out the whole acting thing. I just hope by the time that Sydney Sweeney's depreciating assets to start to sag like her drawing power, well, hopefully she figures out how to act, because she knows how to make fun of herself, or at least not take herself too seriously, because, well, given where I'm at right now, you can obviously tell, okay, even by the headline, Sydney Sweeney is the chosen one in a Hooters sketch. Now, this is on SNL, and they're using a woman's attractiveness as the punchline for a sketch. Not bad. This could be funny. Okay, while hosting Saturday Night Live, the actress took on a sketch that saw her as a new waitress learning the ropes at a sports bar. It doesn't take long for her to begin raking in tips, $36,000 to be exact, even though she's pretty bad at actual serving. That could be funny. That could be funny, and given the fact that they didn't dress her down like she was in Madam Web, wearing a button-down cut-off shirt that I wouldn't even wear, like, what are we doing out here? Like, that movie is so stupid to just go out of the way and make these moderately attractive women as ugly as humanly possible. Like, was that a studio mandate? Was that what ultimately happens when women are put in charge of directing other women? Don't entirely know for sure, but like I alluded to a little bit earlier, well, all the conspiracy theories, oh, Dakota Johnson doesn't hate her own movie. That's just stupid. How do you explain this, okay? How do you explain Sydney Sweeney going on Saturday Night Live, taking a obvious swipe? Swipe is one way that you can put it. She buried this steaming pile of crap, this opening monologue. Now, shout out to The Independent for actually embedding this and allowing me to get some thumbnail fodder, because, well, sometimes you think of a thumbnail before you have the opportunity to make the video. So this ended up presaging this stuff after I seen the initial clip of her, well, talking about Madam Web and why you would know the name Sydney Sweeney. Enough setup? I think so.
You might have seen me in Anyone But You or Euphoria.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You definitely did not see me in Madam Web. But I do have...
Oh, I don't need to hear the rest of this stuff because I find her voice to be incredibly shrill. But yo, even the audience just go, oh, yeah, no, that was a thing that happened, right? She's taking open and obvious shots at that, brother. It's done. But yeah, Anyone But You, the other film, what we seen right there, okay? It's an R-rated rom-com. It's an R-rated rom-com that's received well by the people that want to go see that stuff. Let me just check. Yep, no, it's still there. As a man, I'm not going to check that out. I have absolutely no desire to go see tits. I'm not going to grab on a screen and pretend to care about, the trials and tribulations of a relationship that does me absolutely no benefits. Hey, if you want to go see it, that's fine. And there's an audience for it. It's been out for a while. It's made over $200 million globally. Still, it comes out from Sony. They get it in that respect, but they completely and totally miss the mark with Madam Web. For as big of a hit as Dune 2 is, for me personally, the biggest story of Hollywood in 2024 so far has been Madam Web, and what a cataclysmic failure it has been so far this year. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.